summer transfer is most preferred and most sought after for various reasons. But there was a Ghanaian transfer done for 10 million USD. And after that, it is sparking a lot of conversations about our people and our men out there, just as the politicians would like to put it. Do we have the men, and who are the men who are standing in when it comes to Ghanaian quality on the big stages of football in the world? We say all of this on the back of the performance that was put up by Ghana at the FIFA World Cup and what we continue to see at international competitions and at international stages when it comes to competitive football. So the question we're asking ourselves today is, how far have we gone regarding producing the next set of world-class footballers? Once again, we're saying all of these in the context of those we have at the moment in the biggest leagues in the world, those who are playing major roles, and of course, those who have potential. Also, the fact that we are still struggling to win silverware when it comes to football at the senior level for our senior men's national team. So where are we in terms of our structure, in terms of, the fluid nature of playing from one stage to the other, and the fluid nature of movement, from one stage to the other when it comes to the development of individual footballers. We're discussing all of these here, and I know you've got massive thoughts to share, and that's the reason why you have to get through to us on 055 997. It's 055 997. Talk about football as well, and Ghana will be looking forward to making good of the hope of making it to win a first trophy in the Championship of African Nations. But they'll have Niger to deal with later this evening, and that game will be live on the Joy Prime channel. We'll be bringing you some thoughts of a man who got us very, very close to it at a certain time. Later on as well, we'll be discussing some boxing here, because later this evening or later tonight in California, Ghana's George Ashi will be coming up against WBO NABO welterweight champion Alexis Rocha. Now, he is a boxer who's being promoted by the legendary Oscar de la Hoya, who during the week gave us a very important soundbite. Based on Oscar de la Hoya's experience with the legendary Ike Bazooka Kwate in 1999, he has always looked at Ghanaian boxers twice. Question is, does George Ashi have what it takes to stand up on this very big stage? Big stage in the sense that winning this bout would get him into the top 15 of the welterweight rankings, which obviously is a hot spot when it comes to the weight divisions of world boxing at the moment. Also, this is being telecast live on DAZN, and that will mean that Ashi will have the potential to continue to fight on big networks and get big visibility to market his brand even better. Would be speaking to the specialists and the people who have seen the career of this young man and look at the reality of the situation and whether he has what it takes to jump above all of these. So a fine mixture of some football and some boxing here on Joy 99.7 FM. Welcome to the show. Remember, you can reach us on WhatsApp is 055 1111997, 055 1111997. Let's get talking. Let's get the show on the road. Here on Joy 99.7 FM once again. My name is Nathaniel Attoh. It's 26 minutes past midday, and we're getting into the big conversations. Remember, we're starting off with football. And only a couple of days ago, English Premier League side AFC Bournemouth completed the signing of Ghanaian international Antoine Semenyo from Bristol City. Now, the forward joins Bournemouth on a 4.5-year deal, with the club retaining an option for a year further. The 23-year-old made 125 appearances for the Robins, scoring 21 goals and adding 22 assists. Now, having signed for the club in 2017, he spent time on loan at Bath City and Newport County before establishing himself at Ashton Gate. Now, Semenyo made a fast start to the season, opening the 2022-23 campaign with 3 goals in his first 4 appearances. Now, he enjoyed an impressive run as well to start the 2023 season, ending his Bristol City career with 4 goals in his last 5 matches for the club. He also featured at the FIFA World Cup in Qatar, playing for Ghana against Portugal and Uruguay. And after hearing a story like this, what you're asking yourself as a football fan with Ghanaian interest is, where are our people? Where are our players? How well are they placed to be making such key moves to eventually come to the benefit of our national teams? Joining me for these conversations and others around football this afternoon, Fifi Manfred of Insura FM, and he is joined by Kofi Che, who is a football enthusiast, and he's a member of a very, very vibrant platform called Lovers of Football, with massive numbers, and of course, they always dissect the issues with different angles. Today, they'll be contributing to this subject here, and I'm trusting that we're going to have a wonderful conversation. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. We've been looking forward to days like these all the time. You want to throw back to the early 90s, where you had an Anthony Yeboah being very, very vibrant in the German Bundesliga, where you had an Abedi Pele play in the French Ligue 1. Later on, you had the Alex Nyakos, you had many of these other names come through. In the 2000s era, you had the Sule Ali Muntaris playing in Italy. You had, you had the Asamoah Gyan's playing in Italy. You had the Stephen Appiahs playing in Italy and Turkey. You had the John Menses playing in France. You had the Michael Essiens playing in France and in England. And all of it went to the benefit of our national team. Now you have a bit of a different picture now, because you have many players of Ghanaian descent who have grown in different football markets and are now making their way into these spaces gradually. But the question we want to ask ourselves is, how well are we doing regarding our talent grooming process and putting our players out there and giving them the big opportunities? Let's begin with you, Fifi. Antoine Semenyo, obviously, when he was selected to play for the national team, one of the players for the future of our Black Stars, clearly, isn't it?
Yes, thank you very much, Nat. Antoine Semenyo definitely is a player that has huge future for Ghana, the Black Stars himself, and then, of course, now AFC Bournemouth that he plays with. So if you look at the move that he has made to AFC Bournemouth, it's a big one. And I think that it's one that has come at the right time, because this is a player that has had some stints in League One, League Two, and the Championship. He has been with Sunderland, Bristol City throughout the academy. And then now he has gotten a chance to come into the English Premier League. So yes, it's a big one. And Antoine Semenyo definitely is a big name for the future for Ghana.
Now, you look across board, and you're comparing this era to maybe the early 2000s or the mid 2000s, when we had quite a number of our players playing in key leagues around the world. Generally, how well have we done as a nation? I know it's a very, very broad question to ask, but generally, how well have we done as a nation in terms of grooming our talents? And we're saying all of these at a time when we're playing in a CHAN tournament that is supposed to, expose our best players in our domestic league to the rest of the world.
We have not done well. To be very honest with everybody that's listening to us, to be very honest with ourselves, we have not done well as a nation in terms of grooming the next talents who are supposed to take us to the next level. Like you said in your intro, Michael Essien, Asamoah Gyan, Sule Ali Muntari, Stephen Appiah did their bits. They done tremendously well, not just their bits in the foreign leagues. Now we were supposed to have sort of leveraged on that to take our football to the next level by getting some of the best players on the local scene in there. If you mention Antoine Semenyo, all of us know that he wasn't developed here. These Ghanaian players are being discussed in Europe. I think it is Kamaldeen Sulemana who was developed here. He is from Techiman, and he grew up from there. Even the likes of Thomas Partey, who also did grow up here. But if you look into our Black Stars, a host of these players were not developed here. I think that generally we've not done enough. For me, if you always ask me about how we can develop our football and develop some of these talents that we find in our nation, I think first of all we need to start by government policies, whether we need to reform some of these policies that are already existing, or we need to make these things some form of, we need to give them some legal backing, like CIs, like LIs, to run our general football. How many even complexes or stadia, small ones, can can develop some of these talents across the nation. We have just a few. The erstwhile ministers try to get some of these stadia and complexes all over the country, but then most of them are in the bushes now, for want of a better word. So generally, we've not done enough. Generally, we've not tapped the best talent. If we can decide not to even go for it. We can go just as Morocco, as Ivory Coast. Some of these nations have the best academies owned and managed by the nation, the states, to get some of the best talent to take them elsewhere. If you look at Kamadi in Suleimana, he went to the Right to Dream Academy and to Nigerian. That is not owned by the state. The state has no idea how these countries, these academies get these boys out there. And I think that's the sad part. By the end of the day, we expect them to come back and do the best for us. How do we do the best? Even before the Football Association comes in, how does the government control the narrative with respect to developing and harnessing our talents in the country? I think we need to do that. And then, of course, the Football Administration, the Football Association, ourselves as journalists, and everybody in the football ecosystem need to do more to get the best out of our players.
Well, we'll be coming back for some more, and in a few moments as well, Kofi Che will be joining us. Kofi Che is a football pundit, and he'll be joining us in a few moments. But just before that, let's just take a listen to Antoine following the completion of that move. His thoughts as he gets himself into a new journey in the English Premier League.
It's unbelievable, to be honest. I've been waiting for a while for this to be done, and I'm happy it's done and can't wait to get started.
And just tell us a little bit more about how the whole move has come about, because obviously the interest has been there for a while, and it's obviously great to have you here and signed over the line.
Yeah, interest was from last summer. Injury occurred, so it kind of downplayed a little bit, but continued, came back from injury, started playing well, and interest came back again, so I can't complain.
It's been a whirlwind 24 hours for you. Just tell us a little bit more about what it's entailed.
Well, doing the medical for starters, it was really long, but yeah, it's just checking the body's right and making sure everything's good. So it consisted of that, and yeah, a lot of travelling. But I'm here now, so I'm happy.
The Premier League, it's the best league in the world. There's no doubt about that. I bet you can't wait to get stuck into it.
Yeah, I mean, I dreamed of this as a kid, so now it's reality. Now it's time to get to work.
How valuable do you feel that experience in the EFL has been? Obviously, you've had your time with Bristol City and loan spells with Sunderland and Newport as well. Yeah,
it was very important, to be honest. I'd never been in an academy setup before joining Bristol, so had to learn a lot, learn on the go, and it was so beneficial for me. And leading up to now, I'm so thankful. So can't wait to get started.
That was Antoine Semenyo there, and he is looking forward to a great time in the English Premier League with Bournemouth. Well, we've switched over to the phone to have the thoughts of Kofi Che. Kofi, good to have you here on the show. Rather unfortunate your connection couldn't go through on the on the internet. Look,
thank you for having me. Yeah.
No, we've always been having conversations about who we have out there while we try to develop the finest players here. Within our domestic competitions. Now, hearing of this particular move around this time, I mean, the last major one was basically Thomas Partey's move to Arsenal, and I'm sure that you've got thoughts on this subject and how this can go to benefit our national team eventually.
Of course, yes. When good players emerge, it benefits our national team. I think that we can be thankful that in this generation we are getting a call who are playing at the very highest level. I think 3 to 4 years ago, after Essien, Montari, Jan left the scene, we had a serious quality deficit. But now we are getting a call that can slot in perfectly for us. And I think it's a good news. Some are not going to what's the club?
Bournemouth.
Not coming. Yeah, Bournemouth is a good deal. There will definitely be competition, but if Bournemouth spends about 10 million on you, it means that they really need you. And it's a team struggling and trying to avoid a drop. So it means that it is a strategic signing with the hope that it keeps them in the Premier League. So it's up to him to deliver. If he delivers, the history of the Premier League is that when you perform, you get teams coming after you. There are a lot of players in circulation within the league. So the opportunity would definitely come It depends on how he grasps what is currently at his disposal. And I have watched him a few times at Bristol City. He's a good finisher. If they can create the chances for him, his output would warrant the promotion he deserves. But the bigger picture is that how is it going to help us? It is going to help us because, you see, one, in defense, currently we have Kudus. No, we have Salisu. We have Amate, we have Jiku. Strong central defensive pair. In midfield, we have Pate, we have Salis, and then we have Kudus. And we are hoping that Kudus would also make that big move. I mean, something equivalent to that of Pate. And I must say, I'm very happy that that Ajax coach has been sacked. I didn't like the idea that he saw Kudus as a striker. That is a massive limitation on the guy's potential. He is a playmaker. If you don't play him in that role, you limit him. And that is what has happened throughout this season. He had to compete with Brobe, who is a natural striker. Even though Kudus' output was much higher, he is not a target man. So this coach leaving, it means that normality will be restored. And hopefully in June, he is going to get that move himself. So it's also a good news for us. Then we have Semanu, a striker. And then we have Atletico Bilbao, Iñaki Williams. So it means that we are getting a good core. 2 strikers, 3 solid midfielders. We have defenders. And at the laterals, too, we are not that bad because this Odoi, Lamte, is keeping us covered there. And then the young man we discovered at the World Cup is also solid. So I think that we are on the right path. The only thing is that, you see, we have been lucky. And Ghana, somehow the talent comes through very little effort from us. Because when we talk about developing from the local league, how many of these players can we attribute to the success of the local league? We can't have much credit taken in that regard. So it means that if we are to strengthen our local base of production, we are going to be top-notch. I was looking at some figures. We are the second highest exporter of footballers. We export over 500 players. We have exported over 500 players. And the total amount involved was less than 20 million. Nigeria had done about 700, and they were doing in 100 million. So it goes to show that we are exporting players for $100,000, $200,000, $1 million. For us, people are doing 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. It goes to show the quality, and it goes to show even where these talents are going to. So if we strengthen our production here and bring out the quality, it is going to inure to our own benefit. Unfortunately, those who have the power to do that are not seeing from this light. Look at Kudus. Kudus is right to dream product. It's not a government initiative. And so what is the FA itself doing? I mean, we have to start reasoning up and realize that football is business. 100 million into our economy every year is going to do us a lot of good. So when the money comes, instead of sharing it on unnecessary winning bonuses, ways and means and all those stuff, let us use it to develop the football here. Because at the end of the day, the bigger picture is that these players will still come and invest in the Ghanaian economy. You cannot imagine the amount of investment Thomas Partey is going to make into the Ghanaian economy. The houses he would build if he sets up a business. So we have to look at it from the bigger picture. But I can say that we can be a bit comfortable that at least in the next 5 years, we are not going to a competition and then be the laughing stock, the falling giant. We are going to have a core of players who are going to compete in any competition we find ourselves. But we can still do better.
Very interesting thoughts you raised there, Kofi, because I had an earlier interview with Coach Maxwell Konedu, who used to be in charge of the Black Galaxies. And he mentioned that after our last major performance in the Championship of African Nations, as many as 100 players left the shores of Ghana just because of our featuring on that stage, as many as 100 players left Ghana. 100.
Okay.
So that goes to lend a lot of credence to that point you made about the numbers that that get out of here and where they find themselves.
And they go for cheap, like they go for cheap chicken change. That's the point. If about 500 and the total amount involved is less than 20 million, you can imagine how much these players are going out for.
That's another area for concern, or another area of concern that needs to be addressed very heavily. I mean, the reward structure in our football, which is still not the best.
Exactly. We need to look at it, but it also comes with value creation. You see, the Brazilians have created value that when you are going to the Brazilian market, you know that you need to pay enough to get the talent you want. It would shock you that Kudus could move for less than 35 million. But Kudus is a player who should be moving for around 50, 60 million. You see, it's all about the value we create around our players. And so if we create a value, those who are buying them would also value them in that light. That is our problem. We have not been able to add value. The players who go for big money moves are players nurtured there, like Thomas Partey.
Joy.
Atletico Madrid nurtured him and then created that value around him. So people pay for him. If Partey was to have left from Ghana, he would go for about 5 million. So that is the point. We are still failed to see football as a business. It could be our next natural resource. It could be our next natural resource, but we are not paying attention. The talents are there. We get them on the silver platter. It means that if we are deliberate, and I'm happy that, at least of late, you would see these astroturfs all over the place. It's a good start. Now we should go to the next level. How do we even camp them right from the onset? Provide them with the professional education and all that they need to excel as professional footballers. At the end of the day, if you spend on 20 and get one, it is worth it. One Partey is worth a lot compared to 20 going waste. Even in that, you will still have invested into that 19 who didn't make it as footballers to succeed elsewhere. So I think that we have to take these things seriously, and then we shouldn't see the FA as a business. We shouldn't see it as a place where you come to make money immediately. Come and leave a legacy. Legacy pays. The FA leadership should realize this. Legacy pays.
Sure.
We've gone to the World Cup 4 times. What do we have to show for it? What do we have to show for it?
Well, interesting thoughts you share there. You out there can also send us a message now. It's 055 1111997. 055 1111997. Let's bring back Fifi Manfred into the conversation because while all of this happens, there is also continuous interest in some of our other players. I'm talking about the likes of Kamaldeen Sulemana, who has recorded some interest from Everton and Southampton. That also should be some very good news for Ghana and for what we want to do going forward with our national team, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you very much, Nat. If generally, if you look at our players in Europe, the younger ones, I can run you through a few of them. Even before we talk about Kamaldeen Sulemana, and Nigerian already, there is Enes Nyoma. He's 19 years of age. He's a big talent. I can sit here and predict that by the next year or a year and a half, Enes Nyoma is probably going to be on the block like a Kamaldeen Sulemana and Mohamed Kudus or the other guys. Tariq Lamptey, we know, is probably also moving out of Brighton and Hove Albion for a move outside. Of course, he wasn't developed here. Mohamed Salisu is just 23. Kamal Soa is a big name for Club Brugge. Ali Desir is a big name for Clermont Foot and then the French League. Daniel Efriye Barnier, his move had been made concrete with Swiss-side FC Zurich. Fatah Sowako is still with Sporting CB. Mohamed Kudus, we don't need to say much about him. Salis Abdul Samad, Kamaldeen Sulemana, and Antoine Semenyo. All of these players. The oldest one is 23. All of these players are between the ages of 19 and 23. And it means that we have a very, very good crop of players. For Kamaldeen Sulemana, for me, he's one of the best outside wingers that you will get. Even if you want him to give you the 1v1 attribute of a winger, he will give it to you. He was a boy that was developed here in Ghana through Techiman and, of course, a right to Jim and Nordjylland before he is where he is now. 1v1 outside, he's a very, very good player. He likes to play on the left and cut in onto his right foot. A very, very good one. And once he cuts in, he's a wonderful creator because Kamaldeen averages about 4.65 successful dribbles per game. And that is good. That's on the level of the Neymars and Messis in the French League 1. That's a very, very good return for a Kamaldeen Sulemana who hasn't played at the highest level for a very long time. We know that at Stade Rennes, his only issue has been the last injury that he had. But even with that, he's recovering fine. He has played some good games. And for me, what makes me very happy for Kamaldeen Sulemana is that even after the injury, he came to play for the Ghana Black Stars at the World Cup. He averaged as one of the best and the fastest players at the World Cup at some point over there. So it means that he has not lost steam. He's still sharp and he plays very well. His biggest attribute is that he's going to be a very good outside winger. The best of pace that he has from outside, you can add a lot to any of the teams that he may end up in, whether in Everton, whether in Southampton, or even at PSG Eindhoven, where he's been linked to. So Kamal, for me, is one for the future. He's a big name, and he just have to have that mental fortitude, keep being disciplined, focus on the play, and definitely he's going to come out top. Even if he doesn't get the move this January, I'm very, very certain that Kamal will make it over the summer or in the coming years. And for me, the 17.5 million that's been rejected by Ren, I'm very excited because it tells you how Ren rate him. Ren do rate him as a huge talent. That's why they don't want to let him go for a chicken change, for want of a better word, over there. They want to probably keep him or let him go for a hefty fee. So Kamal is a big player, and I'm very glad that he's getting all the praise and attention now.
How much hope does that give you for the immediate look of the Black Stars, especially as we get into more international assignments in the coming months? I mean, we still haven't appointed a substantive coach, but what kind of does
it gives me a lot of confidence, and it gives me a lot of confidence as a journalist and analyst and a pundit. I look through the names and I'm very excited because going forward we have one of the best young outside wingers in us, and I think that's going to translate straight into the Black Stars getting good results. If he goes ahead to play in the English Premier League, that also adds into his resume and his CV and his experience as a player. He's going to play against sharper defenders. He's going to play against faster defenders. He's going to play against more aggressive defenders as compared to the French League. Like we always say, the game is quick and fast in the English Premier League. He is going to learn the ropes when he goes to the English Premier League. Even if he doesn't go to English Premier League and he plays in Europe, he's going to meet some of the best players in Europe, and he's going to learn the ropes from there. So it gives me a lot of confidence. This is a player that stylistically he's a wonderful player. He's a player that, if you're looking at the profile, technically is well gifted, but then it's about the experience and how he translates. Like you mentioned earlier, if we talk about the Michael Essien and then the Steven Tornado appears, apart from the technical abilities, apart from all of that, it is the experience that took us to those times that we had to go to. Sometimes when these players play against all the bigger nations, the bigger names, you sense it that they are not there yet. And for one, you never look back. Go back to watch that game we played against Brazil when Mohamed Kudus wanted to take the game by a scrap of his neck, even when there was a Neymar. It tells you that he knows after going to Ajax Amsterdam, playing in Europe against all the best players, he feels that he has arrived where he belongs. And I think that's the mentality we need to give some of these players. Kylian Mbappe is not 25, he's not 26, but he is psyched to understand that he is playing against all the against all the best players. So then he knows that he belongs at that top. Kamaldeen Sulemana is not a bad talent compared to Kylian. He probably has, a bigger stage now, and Kamal can do it once. But he guide him well. He himself uses his mind and wants to get it. Everything is going to be fine.
All right, so let's talk a bit about the bit of advice and what you'd want to tell what you'd want to tell those who are given the primary responsibility of developing our football and all of that. What you would want to tell them at this stage, because I mean, if we get into a certain mode of production and we get into a certain mode of strategically placing our players, we can also have a big brand like Kofi was referring to. So what kind of advice would you want to give those who have been placed with the responsibility of ensuring that we have a solid foundation at the grassroots level when it comes to developing from the juvenile level?
Very, very important. Very, very important. I think, first of all, if we are not being able to get our national or state academies, it is only right that the governments, the ministry, the GFA, bring all of these academies that are nurturing talents in the country to a table, get to know what their challenges are, get to know how you can support them so that they can churn out these players, get to know how you can even get something, a quota from it. Elsewhere, even here in Africa, and especially in South America, not all the players are allowed to go out of South America or some parts of Africa without assurance to the nation that they are going to develop them to a certain level, without some commitment to match time or match game time to these players. But then over here in Ghana, it is only down to the agents and the player, and then they just go. We don't look at the bigger picture. Even if we are not being able to set up our own state academies, we need to have a say. And then it boils down to the FA. They need to look at it from this point of view. It has to be holistic. I think that in Ghana, our biggest issue is that we tackle football from just the point of view of the Black Stars, the Black Queens, and then maybe the under-17 when there's a bigger tournament. But it is high time we understand that we need to churn out the best product from our country. And where else? Our fairness is in the Ghana Premier League, is in our zonal football, is in our football at the local league, and what have you. How do we get this done? If there is a football agent, have we done the necessary tasks to make sure that we accredit these people to handle these players well? Apart from that, which coaches manage our juvenile football? For me in Ghana, I think that's our biggest issue. The coaches that manage our juvenile football, I'm sorry, but are not good enough. They are not experienced in managing juvenile football. Elsewhere, where best practices are spoken about, it is the juvenile football managers that are seen as the most important. And I think that is true. That is the preliminary stage of the career of these players. They need to get a lot more, from discipline to technical ability to whatever. They develop it at the lower stage, and that is where they get a job done. I have been lucky to speak to a few young Ghanaians that are having their coaching education outside, and they tell you that when our Ghanaian brothers come up there and you put them into the mix against the whites, yes, we have the energy, yes, we have the physicality, but then we fail at the technical ability. Things that should have been learned at age 7, 8, 9, and 10. A person of age 18, 17, 19 doesn't even know how to do them. So one, we need to invest in juvenile coaching.
Hold on, Fifi. Is this at the level of playing or at the level of technical training for coaches? Which one are you referring to? For coaches, right?
Yeah, for coaches. Yeah, for coaches.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes, so now that's exactly what I was trying to say. I think that coaching at the lowest level, even at the highest level, not to be very honest with you, is not good enough. It's not good enough at all. It's not good enough. I mean, some of us just sit on the internet and learn a few things. And sometimes you go to the stadium and you want to see some of the things that you've learned, and you realize that we are not there yet. It looks as if now in Ghana, coaching is just a means to an end, and it's not supposed to be like that. It's a full-blown profession. We should have a system where we churn out some of the best guys who are smart in various fields in our universities and our senior schools to even go into coaching, to learn that trade, to understand it. Because if you're passionate about a game, it's easy to learn about it and make sure that you get things done. We need to do a whole lot of stuff. Now, I think that maybe we need to even flip it and start all over again. But for me, juvenile coaching is very important. If you look through our league, we talk about players. We don't lack the talent of players, but the coaching for me is that it is at a low. Is at a low. Sometimes you look at some of our coaches and then you shake your head. Juvenile football, we lack it over there. We need to invest in that. We need to invest in coaches. In the past, government used to sponsor coaches to go outside, to go and learn how things are done outside, to come and impact it into our football. We don't do those things now. Yes, I think that's the way to go. As a coach, you need to want to go and learn. The last time when I heard that Coach Samuel Bodu has been given one of our junior sides the job to handle, I was worried because I don't know Coach Samuel Bodu to be an expert of juvenile football or the younger teams. Maybe we should look at making sure that these seemingly big name coaches take care of the bigger guys whilst we allow the expect in juvenile football take care of them as well. Even apart from that, how much are our coaches doing to go outside to learn more, to learn from other people, to learn, to have attachments at other places? The last time I heard it was Coach Michael Osei of BBN Gold Stars, who had gone outside to go and learn, and he feels that he had a lot more in his books when he came back. So not we have a lot more to do. Sometimes it's easy to point the hands at the FAs and governments, and I think that they should start it. They should start it. But again, even almost every actor in our league, in our football ecosystem, needs to do more. And I think it starts with the coaches as well.
And this is where we'd have to give some credit once again to Right to Dream Academy, because when it comes to a template for the academy system in Ghana, Tom Vernon's Right to Dream Academy stands tall, and it's evident in the kinds of products that they churn out year in, year out. At this time, as we speak, in 2023, Kudus Mohammed is one of the biggest testaments of the work they've done on the ground. And away from that as well, they are contributing a great deal when it comes to the coaching side. You can talk about, former Asante Kotoko coach and now assistant Black Stars coach, Masoud Didi Dramani, who, had the opportunity. Yeah. He had the opportunity to handle, the Black Maidens. Went all the way to finish third at the Under-17 Women's World Cup, And we have stories of the likes of Michael Essien, who are also taking their coaching training within the setup of Right to Dream Academy, which also owns FC Northland. You have the likes of Derek Boateng, who's now a scout, a big scout who works in the West African sub-region, who makes sure that he gets the best talents for them. So, not so gloomy a picture, only that Right to Dream Academy is just one entity, and I mean the totality of our football.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're still here on Joy 99.
I think also, Matt, I should add that I have seen Fatah Udauda also do some very good work with some of the young goalkeepers. I usually chance on his videos on social media, and I think he's with one of the academies, and he's doing a good work over there as well for the goalkeeping. So I think this is what we need to be doing. Not every senior player have to go straight to go and coach the Black Stars. Sometimes we need to go to the juvenile football as well.
Yeah, we also need to make mention of Lai Kingston, because Lai Kingston is who is going along those lines. Now, when he got to the Right to Dream Academy and worked with FC Northland, he had the opportunity to coach their under-18 team and did great with them. Won a tournament or two internationally as well, and has worked on his UEFA B. Is gradually working on getting more licenses and more certification, and now he is on the verge of getting confirmed to handle play a role within one of our national teams at the developmental level. So let's see how all of that goes. But Fifi and Kofi, all of this brings us into the conversations about what we're growing here, and it all now flows into the Championship of African Nations, which is in its quarterfinal stage now. Ghana is playing against Niger, and I do remember that I had a conversation with Coach Maxwell Konedu earlier during the week, and he was talking about how we should start focusing on penalties, start practicing penalties, because penalty situations have always proven a very, very great place of discomfort for us. So, Niger, obviously in terms of football tradition, do not stand up to us. But if we look at what Madagascar have done in this tournament so far, it just goes to tell us that we need to sit up. I don't know what your thoughts are. Let's go to Kofi and ask what his thoughts are on this one. Kofi?
Yeah, please, before I make that point, I just wanted to make a brief based on my brother's submission. When it comes to juvenile football, investment is really key. So when you look at the quality, we should ask ourselves how much is being invested there. You see, our system here is like an inverted pyramid. It's juicy up there. When you go down, then it becomes quite thin. And so until we invest there, we won't get the right quality there. You won't get the caliber of coach you want there if you are not paying that person well. So it all comes down to investment. Once you invest, then you have the leverage to insist on quality. But if you're not paying the person well, you won't get the quality you need. So I think that is the main problem in my estimation. And talking about the local Black Stars, I think that the game today is quite tricky. It is quite tricky because nowadays, when the local Black Stars play, it no longer ceases to be the traditional African giant Ghana. It no longer is the traditional African giant Ghana. We are just like any ordinary team out there. And so we can be beaten by the so-called minnows. That is why it makes it tricky. Ideally, on paper, Ghana should be way ahead of Niger. But we are not in normal times. And looking at how we were tactically outthought by Madagascar, there are no guarantees. I just hope that they have progressed a bit through the competition and would take a step higher than they did against Niger. Then we can be able to get some results. And also about finishing. We are not going to have Bania at our disposal today. Whoever steps in has to take up that responsibility. And let's hope that it works for us. When it comes to penalty, you can't learn it in a day. That is why we need the academic system. You see, penalty is about mental toughness. If you have not been mentally developed to withstand that pressure, once it gets there, you'll be found wanting. That has been our problem. And so when we get there, it becomes a throw of the dice, and unfortunately, we always find ourselves at the wrong side. I'm hoping that we wouldn't need that against Niger on a normal day. I'm just hoping so. So we should just get the basics right. In terms of paper, I think we are still better. But on the field of play, it will depend on the application. And I'm hoping that there would be an improvement. Once there is an improvement, I have watched the Nigerians. If we play a little better than we did against them, we'll get the desired result. And, with Ghana, there are times we progress through competition. So usually I'm reluctant to judge our performance right from the onset. So we stepped up from Madagascar. Let's hope that we'll step up again. If we are able to do that, we are going to make progress.
Kofi Che is a football pundit, and Fifi Manfred is with our sister station in Shira FM. Well, taking a close look at our football talents generally and how well they're being placed in major football markets around the world, and what the situation is with us in terms of how we can develop even more and be significant and be dominant and be prominent in all of these big markets. And all of this also goes to point on our domestic scene and the foundations of our talent production. And all of it also then weaves into the ongoing Championship of African Nations, which is reserved for players who play in their respective domestic leagues. What kind of story are we going to tell today against Niger as well? And remember, that game will be live on the Joy Prime channel. Join the action from 6 p.m. Of course, there'll be the first quarterfinal game, and that will be brought to you live as well on the same channel. So join us today. You'd have to be with us on the Joy Prime channel as we bring you all of these two big games. Fifi, just before we wrap it up on the Black Galaxies, what will be the one thing you'd want the players to look out for as they go into this game, considering what you've seen so far in the tournament?
Naz, I think that one of the things that I've noticed with the Black Galaxies team is that at least that we don't start the games well. I mean, that is just broad, but if I'm breaking it down, it looks like when the game starts, we're a little bit like Kadesica. I don't know if because we played our 2 games in Constantine, and then the report was that it was very cold in Constantine. But then I remember I said this to a colleague, and he said, why is that the Madagascars were not also G3 in the few members of the game, and even the Sudanese who are from a relatively hotter place than we are. So we have to be focused when the game starts. It looks as if in the first game against Madagascar, the 2 goals that we considered came from a lack of concentration from our fullback. We need to make sure that we do away with that. Also, in the game against Sudan, we concentrated from bad defensive organization. Yes, the two center-back pairing of Yadom has been very, very good at the back. Now, Japan has slotted in very well, also a right back for the team, and looks everything is fine. Danladi Ibrahim has been on very, very good form. So we need to work on a defensive organization. I don't know who really organizes the back. Before, when Mo Alassane was in the team, Mo Alassane was the leader in organizing the back. Now he's not in the team. So it means that Kunedu Yadom has to take that on himself, or even the more experienced than Ladi Ibrahim, who's the goalkeeper, need to work on organizing us at the back, because all three goals we've considered have been down to bad defensive organization. The Nigerians are not the best when it comes to talents, but then they have very good organization, especially in the middle of the park. Very, very aggressive with and without the ball. If you look at the game that they played against Cameroon in the group stage, they've been very aggressive without the ball, and they are very, very organized without the ball. If they are into that very good 2 blocks of 4 and prevent you from getting central progression. So this is what we should look out for. With Daniel Efriye banning out of the team, I expect that maybe Suraj Seidu will get into it. I have heard from the camp that Captain Gladson Awako is fit, but then will not start in this game. And he has pointed out to a colleague of mine, Noah Adams, that he doesn't have a problem with starting this game. He doesn't mind. He may want to start even for the bench. He just wants the Black Galactics to win, and I think that is good. So in the middle of the park, we are still going to get the same combination of Insobila leading the middle of the park, with David Abagna also leading the creative hub of the team. Very, very good one. Out wide, we are looking to get Jonah Atukwe, maybe Suraj Seidu will come in, and Kofi Koji in the middle of the park. I had an issue with Kofi Koji. He's in the team for hold up play and to bring other players into play, but he didn't do that enough at all in the game we saw against Sudan. And I think that this is a game where he needs to exert himself. If he is not willing to give us that services, then we should look at playing with a false 9 or a different attacker, or playing with Jonah Atukwe through the middle and getting someone else from outside, so that we can get a more fluid front three who will be able to press and then be very dynamic in winning the balls and maybe getting the goals as well. With Daniel Efriye banning out of it, we may have some issues, but I think that Suraj Seidu is also a wonderful talent. Once he's in, he scored that 3rd goal for us against Sudan. Once he's in, he can make up for Efriye's banners and misses.
Out of 10, would you give Ghana a win? What kind of ratio would you give Ghana when it comes to winning? Or
I think 8 out of 10 we should be able to be there.
8 out of 10?
I think 8 out of 10 we should be able to beat the Sudanese today.
Nigerians.
The Nigerians.
Very well. Very well. Okay, let's see how all of it goes. Very interesting times we've landed ourselves in. And also later, earlier this week, there were major conversations. But before that, we'll take a bit of a listen to Coach Maxwell Kunedu, who, led Ghana to our last tournament. And he's got thoughts on how he thinks we should approach certain things, including the subject of penalties.
What Anowaka and his staff must be doing at the moment is, after every training sessions, you let majority of the players, practice the shootout. Definitely, to win this tournament, you may go into such situations, whether you like it or not. You play the whole 90 minutes, play the extra time, and go into penalties. Before you can win a tournament, majority of the time, once or twice you play penalties. So that's what happened to us. So I'm expecting Anowaka and his guys to practice it a lot, give confidence to the. In our time we went in there, and unfortunately for us, the players that score at any time, any day, when you pick Michael Akufu, he will go and score his penalty. He lost his penalty. So that is what happens. When the stakes are high, sometimes players do panic. And when panic sets in, then they start to think about what will happen if I step forward and lose my penalties. What's happened back at home? They should get all those things, to get rid of them before the tournament kickstarts. So we know they have a good team. I, for one, I really want them to win the tournament, at least. It's been too long. And Ghana, we understand, and we started very well, doing better in this tournament, and we have to go far to win it. I'll be one of the happiest person to see them win it.
If you just joined us, we're having this conversation with Coach Maxwell Kunedu, the man who led the Black Stars B, or the Black Galaxy, to the Galaxies, the Black Galaxies, to finish in second place the last time Ghana competed in the Championship of African Nations back in 2014. Now we're looking ahead to what's
Joy 99.7 FM
and where Ghana is placed and how well Ghana is placed to possibly crack the code and break the jinx for a trophy this year. Coach, the trophy and what it will mean to the progress and the growth of our local league. Weigh it for us, just in case somebody is out there and may not value a major achievement such as winning the CHAN. Tell them what they do not know about what it will do around the general psyche of our local league.
You know, I said it some moments ago that after the Cup of Nations, this is one tournament that across the continent, the FAs value a lot. And CAF has also taken this tournament very, very serious. That is why they allow only local players to. And the Cup, it means everything to our league. It means a lot to our local
Joy
league.
99.7
It will mean
FM.
that our local league is not that bad. It will mean that we have some quality players in our local league. It means that the FA is doing something good about our local. It means a lot. It means everything. That is why we have to, or we need to take this competition very, very serious. It means a lot.
Well, those are the words of Maxwell Kunedu. Maxwell Kunedu, remember, was the man who led Ghana to her last tournament and finished second. Let's take a listen to Gladson Awako, who unfortunately would have to still be watching from the bench due to injury.
If you see how our big men, the management, how they've treated us, they make sure that whatever we need, they are doing it for us. They are there whenever we need something, when we call on them. They are there for us, and we, the players itself, we are well motivated because we don't need any motivation than to get on the field and do our work and also to make the nation proud. So this is the motivation that we can give to ourselves, being on the field and getting ourselves ready to showcase what we also have. We are very calm, we are very relaxed, and we are just waiting for that day to get on the pitch and make sure we make our nation proud and each and everyone out there.
All the big teams in the country, the men's big teams to create women's teams. And I'm glad to hear from Accra House of Folk that they are almost ready to start their women's team. We can only be proud of this and to urge all the others to also start, because it's going to be a major requirement going forward when you play in Africa. Currently, the licensing policy, every Premier League club is supposed to help a ladies team. As we resume this weekend, I will personally go around and inquire from them the kind of help they are giving to the teams they've adopted. All we are asking is that give some equipment support and technical support.
Alrighty, so you heard it from the General Secretary of the Ghana Football Association, Prosper Harrison Attoh.
Ever present, still joining us on Super Talk. A lovely switch from Fabio Gama. Kwame Poku with a lovely control. Kwame Poku! What a goal!
Every club is going to have a female side, and they're beginning this project with the adoption of other female sides.
Behind the ball. And that's a drive. Equalizer comes.
What name are we going to call them anyway? Phobia ladies, Accra Hearts of Oak ladies. Interesting days ahead in our football. I'll take the final thoughts from Fifi Manfred and Kofi Che, and then we can get into our boxing conversation here. So, Fifi, this is a new measure taken by CAF. Make sure that you're growing a women's side, as part of the club licensing criteria. Good development?
Yes, very, very good development. Nat, if you look at our women's football, I mean, we are talking about how far we are with men's football as it stands now and how stagnated we've been for a while now. But women's football is hugely underdeveloped. The last time we came close to any glory was Hazak's ladies, and we know how difficult it was even amongst fans for these ladies to go ahead and thrive in the CAF Women's Champions League over there. So we need to develop it. I think that the onus lies on almost every club Asante Kotoko, Kumas, Hakara, Attoh, Kumasi King Faisal. Everybody should be able to get and adopt a female side that they would help develop. I think that the women's game, we've moved away from the stigma that was with it in years in the past. Now, there are a lot of females that love to play the game. There are a lot of females that wake up in the morning and want to go and train and play the game, and they want to harness that talent that has been given to them. So we should be able to do more as well. I think that that's a good one. My problem, however, is how feasible is that going to be? How stern are we willing to make sure that we make sure that these things are done by the clubs? Because time and again, we've seen a lot of policy directions, but then the implementation and enforcement have been the biggest issue. If CAF wants it, then they should put a lot of pressure on the GFE, while the GFE want to put a lot of pressure on the club licensing board and the clubs to make sure that all of these things come to fruition. We need to be intentional about it, else we'll just be mentioning them like how we answer social studies questions and come back to the problems every now and then. We need to be intentional. We need to be stern. We need to have huge enforcement with respect to some of these things, especially with the women's football. Else, we'll come back a year after and the next CAF president will talk about the same thing.
Fifi, I'm grateful to you, and I'll give the final word on this subject to Kofi Kofiche. Kofi, you've heard this one. From my end, I'm looking at many mergers and acquisitions, just like it's done in the corporate world. How smooth do you think this process is going to run? I mean, especially for club owners who have sentimental attachments to the clubs they've grown from scratch, having to be part of, an already established male club.
I think that for me, in fact, I'm just thinking about sustainability in terms of the availability of funds to even pay the women team, because as we know, the male teams themselves, the clubs are struggling to raise their salaries. Unless I don't really understand the concept well, but it means that every club should have a female side. It means that the payroll is going to be much bigger than it used to be. And we know that now the clubs are not getting enough money even from gate proceeds. So my issue is with sustainability. That is where I think it brings in government. I overheard a proposal some time ago. I don't know if it's one of the politicians who said that they were going to give footballers a minimum wage from government coverage. I don't know if you heard that proposal.
Yes, I do remember. Okay,
maybe
so
we can look at starting from
yeah,
the
it was actually the NDC, and they invited senior sports journalists in the country, several of them, to President John Mahama's office.
We can do that with female football, because already the remuneration is not anything to write home about. Female footballers are living in abject poverty in this country. Unless you get a chance to play the national team, you are like a failed daughter, because eventually they end up with absolutely nothing. So if you want to bring it to a proper professional level, the first thing we should look at is how are we going to pay them, so that we know that we are not just doing it for the sake of it, but then it is also an avenue for employment. But I think it's a good step. The only thing is that we should find a way to make it sustainable, because the clubs are not ready for it at this moment. I don't think the clubs are ready financially.
Well, Kofi, clearly a subject that we have to revisit, because there are realities on the ground which need to be looked at, and that's something that you have underscored greatly. But thank you so much for the time this afternoon, Fifi. We sure are going to have some more of these. So Kofiche is a football pundit, and he was joined by Fifi Manfred of Inshira Sports, our sister network in Kumasi. We're discussing a lot of the issues, including the fact that at a certain point, every male club or every football club must have a women's team because it's going to be part of the club licensing regime. Well, this is something we surely are going to bring back. But right now, however, it's time to do some pugilists movement here on the Joy Sports link.
Tonight, we are going to witness the most anticipated match in the history of professional wrestling for the heavyweight championship of the world. Are you ready? Wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, from the capital city of the United States of America, Washington, D.C., ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Talking about this big fight. And remember, he is the promoter of the bout, and Alexis Rocha is one of his boxers. Now, he talked about, George Ashe, the kind of challenge he's going to bring, and the kind of reminiscence that George Ashe brings him. Before we bring in, our contributor for this part of the conversation, which is a very experienced referee, Roger Bano. Remember, referee Roger Bano has all the badges of all the major sanctioning bodies, has many years of experience under his sleeves in the boxing ring. But just before that, let's just take a listen to Oscar De La Hoya, the boxing legend, who granted an interview on the possibilities that could arise within this upcoming bout in California.
Original opponent, I have no clue. I have no idea what happened. I know we do have a difficult, tough guy from Ghana for Rocha on Saturday. Last minute replacements are a drag and they're not good for anybody. But I feel very confident that this fight is probably going to be even tougher for Rocha. Just the fact that he's from Ghana, like I hear Ghana and I think about the master fighters. I mean, I still get chills. Like when I mention Ghana, I get chills. Like shit. Yeah, it's gonna be a good main event.
Apologies for the French in there. Let's go into the details now. So, you listen to this, and once again, you're basking in a lot of pride because even though Ike Bazooka Kwate lost that bout, controversial as it may be, or controversial as it was, you still do realize that we have had big punchers on the big stage before who have made massive impact. And so, is this the time when a Ghanaian can step up and rise to the occasion and do something great? Is George Ashe the man to do this? And is this just political talk? Is this just one of those boxers who are going to go in? Remember, we're coming in from a week or two where a Ghanaian boxer was given a similar opportunity and had to fluff it. And I'm talking about Jacob Dixon of the Bronx Boxing Gym here in Accra. Do remember that he was placed in, he had a last-minute replacement for his opponent, and unfortunately, he had to lose via a first-round knockout. Let's now bring in referee Roger Bano. Referee Roger Bano is a seasoned international boxing referee, has all the relevant badges in Ghana in world boxing, and so is eligible to officiate or be in the center of the ring for any other bout. This man has been in action and been in the center of the ring since 1998. Most importantly, he has seen the rise of George the Red Tiger Ashe, who now has a record of 33 wins, 5 losses, and a draw. He's got thoughts to share with us on the Joy Sports link. Ref, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Nathaniel.
Later on, I'm going to join you so we can have a drink. I realize you're having a good time at home.
Sure.
Look, this is a big deal for George Ashe. I mean, you've seen him rise. I mean, I'm sure you've been in the ring as well for a lot of his wins, his bouts, and all of that. Tell everybody, give everybody a sense of how crucial a bout like this is. I mean, fighting on a bill, on a a Golden Boy Promotions bill, and also fighting on the zone and having an opportunity as big as this?
Well, thank you for having me on the line, on this discussion, and a very welcome to, at least a very hello to the listeners all around the world. Now I'd like to take this opportunity to hedge George Ashi to do what he does best, because we all know George Ashi. He's one hell of a boxer that you don't joke with him. He's one of the heavy punchers in Ghana boxing, as we speak now. Because George Ashi, I don't know how prepared he is, but we all know George Ashi. Once he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. So I think getting on this big stage, he's going to prove his worth and then what he's made of. So we'll all be proud of him as Ghanaians.
Now, let's also look at some of the realities that stare us in the face. I mean, the last time, a major fight occurred on any of Golden Boy's bills, which I remember, which I covered back there in California, was that of the rematch between Joseph Agbeko and Abner Maris. And, it just didn't go well for Joseph Agbeko. But question is, George Ashi is going up against a lot of things. First of all, he's fighting in his opponent's backyard. He's fighting under his opponent's, promoter. And all the odds seem to be against him. How much mental toughness can the Ashi that you know, draw to do something extraordinary? Because that's really is what we need now.
Like you said, George Ashi is George Ashi. And I would like to take this opportunity, like I said earlier on, to hedge him, to bring the George Ashi that we know of him, because they are all stacks. All odds are stacked against him. One, in terms of age, in terms of preparation, timing of the fight. I don't know how serious he was before this fight came up. But if George Ashi has been training like the George Ashi we know, definitely we know George Ashi is going to prove a point. Fighting in the opponent's background, it's not good on George Ashi's note. If I say it's not, he's had 3 fights outside, which is he have lost all those 3 fights, and it's very bad. And so, talking from experience, I know George Ashi is going to want to prove a point. He want to prove a point, or would love to prove a point to bow out, because as we speak now, Alexis Rocha is 22, George Ashi is 38. So in terms of age-wise, George Ashi is much older than him, and then if you get into that point of age in your career, then it slows you down. But if it's something that we need to speak about, in George Ashi's last fight against Robert Quay in Ghana, we all saw the George Ashi we knew George Ashi was. So if he's going to bring out that same George Ashi on that same day, then I think Ghana will be ready to laugh him. But if George Ashi hasn't been prepared or he's not ready, then I think probably there might be a problem. George Ashi is one hell of a boxer who doesn't give up easily. So I think what I can say is Rocha is coming in for a fight of his life. Out of all his fights that he's fought, I don't see he's fought someone of the caliber of George Ashi. So Oscar knows what he's doing. That's why he brought in George Ashi, because he knew should Alexis pass through George Ashi, then he might see then Alexis is coming of age. So I think George Ashi is a test for Rocha as well. But like you said, Joshua Agbeko fighting Abner Maris in California, or probably in his own background, being promoted by Oscar De La Hoya and then managed by Oscar De La Hoya. Same odds are against George Ashi, but different fighters make different fights. So I think George Ashi, I can give him a hedge over Alexis Rocha if George Ashi comes out like the George Ashi we knew.
Okay. All right, let me bring in, let me bring in Alex Ntiamwa. Alex Ntiamwa is a seasoned boxing promoter. One of his biggest claims to relevance in this industry are the pull-off of that very big grudge fight, which recorded, a good number, almost half of the Accra Stadium for that big fight between Bukom Banko and Ayite Powers. So he's gone on to do a lot more in terms of putting together promotions that have been broadcast to the rest of the African continent via SuperSport and other networks. He also joins us for this conversation. He also knows the boxer well, and we'll be looking at the reality of the situation, especially from a promoter's point of view. Alex, thank you very much for your time. It's good to have you here on the show. it is a difficult conversation to have because it is a difficult thing. I mean, I had a conversation with George Ashi during the week, and he said to me that, look, the good thing for him is that he was training already, and there were other opponents, including Adrian Broner. He was training and getting himself ready for a fight with Adrian Broner. It wouldn't come off, and then this one came in, and he gladly accepted it. Now, there are those who also argue that sometimes when these fights come and they are not convenient for the boxer has to say no and step away. But in George Ashi's case, if you were in his shoes, would you say, maybe I'm not prepared, or, this fight came at the last minute? I'm not sure you would, Alex. Alex, can you hear me? Alex, can you kindly unmute your can you kindly unmute so we can hear you, Alex? All right, can you unmute, please? Yes. All right, we'll be trying to re-establish contact with the promoter, Alex Ntiama of Box Office Promotions. But let's continue with referee Roger Bano. Roger, this thing about, late, fights. And
hello.
Okay, Alex can hear me now. Alex, I was just talking about, the scheduling of this fight and how it came in at the last minute, and whether it would have been okay if you were in the boxer's shoes to say, well, because it came in at the last minute, I would want to pass. Does this thing normally happen, especially for a boxer like Ashi who's looking for big opportunities?
Actually, Ashi relocating to the US is one thing that is good for him, and is also ready to take up the challenges. So right on the one that he set foot on US, so for me, I believe he should be ready all the time, because it's Ashi, when you consider the age, he's a little bit in age. So he shouldn't be waiting to. He should always be ready for any opportunity that comes his way to pick and take his chances from there. So I believe he's already in camping, in training before the fight came. So for me, I believe he should be ready to take this side, and that is what I believe he will do tonight.
Okay, away from all of this as well, Alex, I mean, we've had a trend of having our boxers go out there, get these opportunities, and not really do much with them. Specifically, they go in there and they don't really give any, they don't really give any good account of themselves in the ring. I mean, we saw what happened just last week in the cruiserweight contest, which could have been a very good one for Jacob Dixon. How much confidence do you have in this particular, scenario where George Ashi is going up against a younger and, a ferocious puncher and somebody who can be very troublesome in the ring as an opponent?
We are going to witness.
All right, so we're having a bit of difficulty. We're going to get back and re-establish contact with Alex Ntiama. So let's continue with, referee Roger Bano. Referee Roger Bano, I was just asking Alex about the...
Actually, I believe Joyashi is an experienced boxer. He's passed through the mill, like you compared. There are some boxers that go out there and they cannot... And they cannot.
Okay, so we've made a couple of attempts where we're just gonna restart the line with Alex Ntiama so he can make his submissions. Let's come back to you, referee Roger Bano. I was just asking about the trend and I mean the kind of impression that we are making out there as well. With the performances that we see of our Ghanaian boxers as we speak. Isaac Dogbe, Richard Comey, and Emmanuel Tego are the ones holding the flag for Ghana. out there on the international stage, on the big stages. What are your views on, some of the boxers who go out there and do not show competitive spirit in the ring and do not give a good picture of Ghana boxing?
Like you said, Nat, it's all about preparedness. If the guys are well prepared and then well trained, well tuned up, I think they can do better. Because, like I said, Ghanaians are born to fight, and we are winners. We can't lose, because if we are ready, really, really, really ready for whatever lies ahead of us, we can easily pass through. So I think with this crop of young guys coming up, seriousness, if they are bosses, they should make themselves as bosses. They should present themselves as bosses. If I say they should present themselves as bosses, it calls for training, whatever you do. Those years gone by where I quote Azuma Nelson, Nanaya Okonedu, Joshua Clotte, Joseph Agbeko, they were, you see them and then you see these are future world champions. They should present themselves as such, which I do believe in them that they'll definitely do. Once they get once they get everything tuned up in the right direction, Ghana will come up with more champions than before.
All right, so we've reached Alex Ntiamo at this time on the phone so that he can make his submissions. Alex, I was asking you the same question about the competitiveness and how competitive our boxers get when they get on big stages as these, and the kind of impression they create out there about our boxers and our current crop of boxers.
Not actually, like you said earlier on, we've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of Ghana boxing. We've seen some of the guys going out there and they cannot give good account of themselves. But I can assure you, Ashi is not one of those guys, because he has passed through the mill and he knows the trade inside out. Like I said earlier on, Ashi relocating to the US is best thing for him, because he has seen through all that he needs to see here in Ghana, and he has been able to get some good wins to prepare him for bigger opportunities. So as soon as he landed in the US, I can tell you that he started his training, and he's very serious because he's hungry for opportunities. And lo and behold, he has got this opportunity. So I believe he's going to give good account of himself. He's one person that believes he's not finished. All that he needs is an opportunity like this, and then he can capitalize on it to propel to world title shot. And we believe this is the day that we are looking for, and it's here with us. And so I believe Ashi is going out there to give Ghana a win that can secure him some title shot, and if God permits, he will become a world champion before he retires from boxing.
Now let's look at the reality of the situation. There are three scenarios that can pan out, just like in football. It's a win, a loss, or a draw. Now, in the instance where he records a loss, how much of a hit would it, take on him?
It depends. It depends on the loss, the way he lose this fight. If he should lose, because you lose some fights with dignity, and it opens a lot of opportunities for you. And I know Ashi, he can box, he can fight, and he'll be going out there all with his heart and fight for the fans to enjoy the fight. So come what may, I believe there are a lot of chances for him to explore, either win or lose. But for me, I'm very optimistic, and I know he's going to win this fight, because his anger is beyond this NABO, WBO title, because it's a regional title. He has won that some time ago. And so he's looking for bigger opportunity, which is the world title.
Now, let's also take a look at the kind of inspiration that the big fighters of today, of this generation, are giving each other. I mean, you look at Isaac Dogbe, you look at Richard Comey, and you look at Emmanuel Tego, and what they are up to now. Isaac Dogbe, for instance, is up for for a world title fight, in April. What kind of inspiration does that give someone like Ashi, who's going in, who is at a stage that Dugbe has been at before?
Like I said, Ashi is one boxer who was sometime back ahead of Dugbe, Richie Comey, and others. But, it all boils down to opportunities that avails itself. And so for them that they have won world titles before, former world champions, he's looking also to write his name in gold when it comes to Ghana boxing. So his charge is so much inspired that he should be able to pass through this fight to win in order to get a world title shot. And he believes he can be able to win a world title for Ghana. So that has always been his dream. And despite the advancement in age, he still believes he can do it. And so there is great inspiration from this generation of world champions like Dugbe and Richie Comey to Ashi, and he's looking up to them to also break the jinx of winning a world title.
All right, well, if you just joined us on the Joy Sports Link, we're on the final leg of the show, and we're having a conversation with seasoned boxing promoter Alex Ntiamwa, who's the CEO of Box Office Promotions, and referee Roger Bano. He's an international boxing referee who is accredited by all the major sanctioning bodies. Been in the ring and been, doing his thing in the ring, in the center of the ring since 1998. Well, we're looking at the opportunity that lies on the shoulders of George the Red Tiger Ashi, who's going up for a major bout in California later tonight. This is a fight we've been reporting on, all week through. Now, gentlemen, let's look at the weight division, the welterweight division. That's a place of great excitement. And Oscar De La Hoya himself was a champion at welterweight. Ike Bazooka Quarte was also there. Joshua Clottey was also there. But you look at 2023 and you see a whole host of crack boxers. I mean, you're looking at the champions now. I mean, I'm talking about Errol Spence, you're looking at Errol Spence Jr., and you're looking at many others as well.
Crawford.
Terence Crawford, your Dennis Ugas, and all these other names. These are all very, very tough, customers. And you're asking yourself, how easy would it be to penetrate, these spaces, or this very tough space that has been created by the current crop of big names in the welterweight division?
Actually,
Okay. Let's have Roger. Roger, you take it first, and then Alex comes in. Yeah.
It only takes one thing: training, seriousness. At the end of the day, they've got 2 feet, 2 hands. They train, they take punches, be ready to take a punch, and then be ready to defend yourself. Like I said, if this crop of bosses we're talking of, if our Ghanaian bosses are seriously as they are over there, they can easily match them boot for boot. At the end of the day, it's 147. 147 you're talking of. And then Oscar De La Hoya was trying to play a mind game on George Ashi, which I think George Ashi is bigger than that. He said if you hear the name of Ghana, then we can cheer. So all we have to do is just to encourage our boy to go there and then do the business, take care of the business, whatever he's supposed to do in the ring. And then he definitely, because at the end of the day, he's been training like Alex said. He's been training already, and then fight fell through, and then came this opportunity, which I know definitely he wouldn't disgrace himself because, with experience, I think this is the last chance of George Ashi. Should he be able to prove himself, then probably George Ashi will be one of the greatest bosses of his generation. So I think he's not going to be scared of whoever is right in front of him. He's been there before, and then I think he can take care of business.
All right, Alex, what are your thoughts as well?
Okay, actually, like you said, Spence Jr., Terence Crawford, Dennis Ugas, and all that stuff. For now, 147, we have Aaron Spence Jr. having the IBF, WBA, and the WBC. He has those titles there. But actually, you know about these sanctioning bodies. These guys have to fight some of the other guys, and the fights are not materializing. So I believe some of the titles will be stripped, and new boxers who are on the 1 to 10, maybe the first or second or third contender will be given opportunity. And who knows? As she moving past this fight as a winner, he may have the opportunity to be one of the guys that can avail himself for a shot when any of the titles becomes vacant. And, you know, I'm not saying he has to duck Aaron Spence or any of the, but it will be very hard for them to give him the opportunity, because for them they are looking to get the super fights, like Aaron Spence wanting to secure a fight with Crawford or any other names like maybe Manny Pacquiao. Though Pacquiao is old, but the name sounds big, and that is what they are looking at. But I can assure you the ones at number 1, number 2, and all that stuff, those guys also looking for opportunity. And actually winning these fights will be placed in an advantage position to get a shot with any of the guys if he's able to win this fight. So there is a lot of inspiration for him to win this fight, and winning this fight will give him a great chance to become a world champion.
Let's, take a bit from something that Isaac Dogbe told us, some 2 weeks ago in an interview. Now, he said that he would love to, become a 2-time world champion and also stage his fights here in Ghana. And immediately it struck, a chord with the story of the legendary Floyd Mayweather Jr., who has staged very successfully all of his 50 fights in the United States of America without moving to any other spot on Mother Earth. He's been successful at doing it. And so clearly there's something in fighting, creating the value and fighting before your home fans. Alex, you are in the promotional space with all the kinds of challenges that we have now. How feasible do those kinds of projections look? Looking at our economic situation, the level and the worth of sponsorships for sports or major sporting events and competitions like we see across board. How feasible are these kinds of projections? In as much as we would all love to see major world title fights from all the 4 major sanctioning bodies come here to Ghana, like we saw back in the time when the likes of, DK Poison fought and got record numbers at the Accra Stadium of 100,000 fans.
I believe in Dogbe's vision, and like I said, me being a promoter, I've always dreamed about building the boxers here and being able to stage good fights here. Some time back, it's very hard to stage world title fights here and be able to get the funding for it. But now by the power of cable TV, it's very, very possible, and it depends on the quality of the fight. Dogbe has sold himself over there in the United States and other parts of the world, let's say the boxing world. And him winning a title again as a 2-time world champion, there are other contenders. Some of these guys have TV deals. Dogbe's promoter, Top Rank, has
ESPN.
some good connection with TV and all that stuff. And that winning will give him the edge to be able to bring these cable TVs here, like Showtime, ESPN, and all that stuff. And they are the networks that has the money, because with them they can get all the necessary sponsorship, and then they can stage the fight here in Ghana for the rest of the world to see. And so it's very, very possible. And these are some of the things that we should be planning towards to be able to build the boxers here, not just record boxers, but boxers, tough boxers here that we can export them outside, win 1 or 2, 3 fights, becoming world champions, and then we bring in the world championship fight here in Ghana, like the Australians are doing. You see, Cambosos won the world title in the US and he took it to the United States. We saw Manny Pacquiao going over to the to Australia to fight there. So these are some of the things that we are looking at, and I believe it's feasible for us to do, despite the economic challenges that we have. And it's going to bring some good economic advantage to Ghana.
And just before we wrap it up, what are we looking at here on the local promotional scene for the first quarter? What should we expect from the likes of you, who are major within the promotional space?
Okay, actually, past this January 5th, I had a very small show for opening the year. I'm looking at getting March 6 and March 13. March 6, I'm looking at getting WBO African title for Michael Bikadi Nelson against Mchanga Yohana from Tanzania. We're looking also at getting John Lai against Solomon Marty for WBO Africa, as we've been doing it all the time on each and every 6 match since 2016, 2017. So we have something on the table. And on 13th of March, we're looking at getting Sheriff Kwe and Michael Ofedodu also vying for WBO Africa. And then we're looking in April also to get some good fights that will be announced very soon.
Great.
So these are some of the things that we were looking at. So
all right,
2013 is going to be busy.
Great. Thank you so much. Alex Ntiamwa is a promoter. He's in charge of box office promotions. And we also heard from seasoned international boxing referee Roger Bano earlier. We also heard from Fifi Manfred, who's in charge of Inshira Sports with our operation in the Ashanti region, and also Kofi Che, who's a football pundit. Thank you all so much for listening to the show. Thank you for making time with us. The action continues right here on Joy 99.7 FM. George Quay and the rest of the team are going to bring us Showbiz A to Z. Thank you all so much. We'll be back next week with another Joy Sports Link. And always keep it here on your superstation, Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Nathaniel Attoh, and I have love for sport.